sprays are difficult to control sometimes. And just when you think you have it exactly how you want it, you can't resist spraying once more. And the project starts to get a little out of your control. But rather than be frustrated, have to start all over again, I'm going to show you a few quick, simple tips that will save the day. Hey chickies, welcome. It's a quick one, it's fun, and hopefully these couple simple tips will not only help you with sprays, but any medium that you actually want to use. I'm going to work on a Christmas card, but feel free to do whatever you want to do. Let's dive right in. A lot of times I get inspired by trees, and this is a photo of a tree that is outside my dad's house. I used to look at this tree all day long from my studio desk when I lived in Germany. The neighbors used to always say to me, Ingrid, don't let your father cut down that tree. We love that tree, and I can see why. It's gorgeous to look at, it fills up the space so beautifully. I mean, it is really the most perfect Christmas tree. So I thought that it would be kind of fun to use that as inspiration for today. I want to get multiple colors on a one-layer project, so I'm going to need to use a mask. You can use a die cut, or you could use one that's made of stencil material that you've purchased. I happen to draw my own and cut it out. It's just another piece of cardstock, and this way I'm going to get 2 for 1 out of my projects, because the actual tree I can then use once it's painted with the sprays on another piece. Since my trunk is a bit short, I'm going to extend it by using a paper scrap, one of those many pieces of white paper that I have left over from lots of other projects. It's going to work perfect. The Dina Wakely Gloss Sprays are perfect here. They have this really nice painterly feel to them and a nice glossy look. I grabbed lime, olive, white, turquoise, ocean, marine, and night. Once the tree is in the right place, shake up your bottles well and spray down a little bit of white. This is going to help create a little bit of light in your sky, a little bit of contrast. Some of the paint is going to soak into the cardstock, and the rest is going to repel any new layers that are laid down on top of it. As that paint dries, it kind of repels creating this mottled look. When the paints are wet, they blend together. Once I'm happy with how the sky is looking, I remove my masks. You can see that some of the paint seeped under the edges, but that's okay. I wanted to heat set a little bit of that bottom layer, not completely, but just a little bit before continuing to layer more blue on top. You can see there's still even a little bit of white kind of in the splotchy sky. Sprays by nature, when you spray them, they lay down little droplets of color. Sometimes you don't fill everything completely, and that's what those little bits of white are in the sky. Now that we're going to switch to green, some of that green is going to get into those little spots, but don't worry, I'm going to show you a trick on how to fix that. This is really starting to look like a hot mess, but since we have that blue layer underneath, we can easily sop everything up with a paper towel. Look at how easily this green comes up. It soaks right into the white naked cardstock, but when it comes into contact with that painted layer, that's where you can very easily just pick that green right up off that blue. And that is part of the beauty of these gloss sprays. It's really a lot of fun to kind of experiment with. It makes it super easy to add additional dimension to the green and the blue. Even though I lifted up a little bit of that green from that tree, you can easily add more character and texture to it by layering more shades of green on top, really just kind of extending the depth of the tree. To fix the sky where some of that green settled, just add a variety of blues there. You'll want to heat set them before going and layering more on top. And this is kind of where the project started to go wrong. I got a little layer happy. And I added a little too much of the night onto there, really kind of making it a little dark. Remember, I wanted a moody feel, and what it really kind of became was stormy. How do you fix that? We need to add a little bit of light, and with a lot of other mediums, that's kind of a danger. Sometimes, you can add too much dark, and it's really hard to get that light back. not the case with these sprays. With these sprays, you can just continually layer some lighter colors on top because acrylic layers on top of acrylic, especially when you heat set it. Now it is going to do a little bit of repelling, giving you that mottled feel, but it is going to leave some of that lighter shade behind, a little light back into the sky. Gloss sprays layer so beautifully. You can bring in lighter blues and dry them in place. Once that background is dry, it's time to lighten it a little bit further. But my tree had really kind of gotten lost a little with the dark sky. It needed to be pulled back into the forefront. I wanted to use a gel pen, but when I started to outline it, it just wasn't really working. It wasn't cooperating layering on top of that acrylic gloss background. I wanted to provide an outline to really kind of set it apart, but a Posca paint pen worked beautifully here. Really wanted to keep it light and fun, so I went with a sketchy look that worked beautifully. A plus was that I didn't have to be perfect, and I'm all for that. To truly lighten this background though, I needed a little bit of white gloss spray, and that came in the form of snow. This is the perfect way to add splatter, and it's truly one of my favorite products to use now when I need stars or snow, because it sits on top of the surface because it's acrylic paint versus being sucked right into that paper right away. I like to vary the size of the drops as well. When you have those larger ones, it makes it feel like you're right there in the storm, and the lighter ones, they fill the sky. Here are my two versions. One I managed to keep the sky a little bit brighter, and that one I even had even larger snowdrops. They both worked for me, and they were fun and super easy to make. They're the perfect Christmas cards. I even made a fun little woven embellishment with the paper trimmings. I'm going to use that on another day. Hey, gorgeous paper scraps, those you got to keep, right? Sadly, my dad cut down that tree. He knew how much I love that tree. He made a point of telling my brother not to tell me, so naturally Matt told me 5 minutes later. My dad's a boy, and boys can't help to do boy things, like cut down trees. He says it was for safety reasons, to protect the neighbor's property. And I'm sure there is some truth in that, but all I can think about is that beautiful tree and how it's missing. I'm glad I have this card. I'm glad I have my photos and the memories of truly the perfect Christmas tree that stood tall along these beautiful skies, easily translated into a card. But that's not the only way to use gloss sprays. If you want to use it in a little bit more of an abstract, random way, really use some vibrant, intense colors and layer those. I've got a great tutorial right here. It's the last project in this video. Right before, I have 14 clever ways of how to get rid of those paper scraps that you're kind of hoarding in your paper stash. I'll meet you right there for the first step.